Hello, Conceal Coalition. Another great question from one of our Conceal Coalition community. What is a good guy in a gun scenario, and what are the legalities of getting involved as a good guy with a gun scenario? Jody, I think this is right in your wheelhouse.
Is what you're doing legally justified? Say that, whether it be
in protecting a third person.
Protecting a third person, right? Some states, the statutes vary state to state on when you can actually intervene with helping a third person and what type of force you could use. So if you're in a situation, I'll tell you a really quick story about a guy named Chris. Walked out of a gas station and saw a man just beating a woman in the face, just punching her over and over, and walked outside and yelled, "Hey, stop, stop." And guy wouldn't stop. So he was a license to carry holder. And so he pulled his concealed firearm, pointed at the guy, screaming, "Stop, stop." And the guy actually took off after Chris and shot the guy. You fast forward to the ambulance are coming, the cops are coming. They take the guy to the hospital. He does survive. But Chris gets taken to jail. And at that point, it's the DA's decision or, the court's decision to decide to press charges or not. And to see if what Chris did was abiding by actually what the statute was for that state.
If the threat was imminent.
Absolutely.
If he was innocent in his interaction with this whole deal. If his response was reasonable. Remember, he doesn't have to be perfect.
Yep.
It has to be reasonable. If it was avoidable, and if his response was proportional.
Yeah, and they actually did press charges. In that case, I think it cost them right around $40,000 of his own money to fight the charges, where he was acquitted of all charges and said what he did was textbook by what the state statute says.
But it's not like he gets his 40 grand back.
He doesn't get his 40 grand
life back for the year or two that took.
No, and what's worse than that is, he got sued civilly after that. Who sued him civilly?
The girlfriend.
The girlfriend and the guy.
Oh!
Both sued him because, she was just in love with him and he was going to put a ring on it and they were just going to be so happy. And that's how he shows her that he loves her. He likes to just beat on her. So now Chris has got 2 civil lawsuits on his hand. Around $30,000 is what it took for him to get out of that. And when we tell these things, we don't tell people this so that they're scared to carry, right? Or don't want to get involved in those situations. It's more of to be prepared for
the
those
fight
situations.
after the fight.
For the fight after the fight. We preach it, we preach it, we preach it. It happens. We just want to make sure that those people who are coming and getting trained are at least educated and understand what happens after the fight.
What's interesting about getting involved in a third-party conflict, and you've seen this in the Virtual Tactical Academy many, many times, is I've got a scenario where a man is in a very similar situation.
Yep.
He's beating on a woman in a car. You don't know anything about it. The person gets involved, and then I basically go ahead and tell this analogy, and that is, I want you to think about this for a second. Let's say there's somebody you really like that you don't really have a personal issue, you have sort of a social relationship. Like the favorite person pours your cup of coffee every time, or your favorite waitress. Every time you see them, it's like, "Hey, Mary," and they go, "Hey, Austin." "Hey, Mary." "Hey, Austin." One day you come in to get your favorite cup of coffee at your favorite gas station, you store, "Hey, Mary," and Mary goes, "Hey, Austin." You go, "Hey, Mary, you don't look like you're having a good day." "I'm not." "What happened?" "Well, I have this rare illness." And I go, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And she goes, "Yes, it'll take, $50,000 to $100,000 to fix it." And I'll go, "Well, Mary, I barely know you, but I'm gonna write a check for that. I'm gonna refinance my house, or I'm gonna sell my house, or I'm gonna cash out my 401k early for that." You wouldn't do that, would you? But yet, when you get involved in a third-party incident, would you say that that's a fair example of just exactly the same thing? You're going, "Hey, I'm going to give this money to these people, get involved." Absolutely.
And a big thing too is for what you do in the VTA, the scenarios that we've been through. A lot of times it's so real life because you have no information, right? The one where he's trying to get the girl out of the vehicle, and by just looking at it, you're like, "Oh my goodness, I need to help." But you don't know the backstory, right? And so making that decision to get involved with very little information, it's a very hard decision to make. I think a lot of us want to help people, but you have to be prepared.
Are you needing to do something to fix this situation, or does this situation call for you to be a good witness? One of the things on my list for season 2 is to have a whole episode on Conceal Coalition University about how to be a good witness. As a police officer, trust me, there's a real difference between a good witness and a poor witness. The next thing is this a situation you want to push, or do you want to hold? You know, sometimes you go, look, they're beating a baby to death. That's pretty clear. I don't need to know a lot of backstory.
Right.
It's an infant and they're beating them to death. I may have to interject in that, and if I go to prison, that's a price to pay because I can't live with myself if I let them beat a baby to death.
Right.
So when it comes to a good guy with a gun scenario, the legal ramifications, in my opinion, is you have to ask yourself, is the juice worth the squeeze on this deal? Is it worth risking my family's financial, criminal, social situation to go involved? You know, it's a situation I want to push forward, I need to pull back and become a good witness. That's probably why we always say,
Be a guardian always.
and a warrior when needed.